Hello gamers and welcome to Game Warp. I'm Elwood
I'm Kim.
and this is our review of Evil Genome.
Evil Genome is a 2.5D Metroidvania side-scroller action-adventure platformer developed by Chinese indie developer Crystal Depths Studio, which was released on Steam back in August. The story takes place in 23rd century. You're under the orders of the TLS organization, and your mission is to investigate and eliminate various foes within those colonies which declared their independence. So you play as a female protagonist called Lachesis, and she pretty much has a aircraft issue, and then she lands in this wasteland where she encounters these these creatures of all sorts and these different groups in the slums and miners and all that stuff. And so she has to fight a lot of enemies, collect items, and really build up like a Metroidvania RPG style sort of game. So this is really more of an impression since this is a really long game. So what was your impressions of Evil Genome?
Yeah, I mean, Evil Genome, it pretty much sticks to the usual Metroidvania formula, perhaps this time giving a little bit of a dash of Aeon Flux in our character design with Lachesis, which is one of those names which I'd like to see you try after a couple of drinks. Yeah, it's the usual sort of plot line. She crashes on this planet, and her only sort of guide is this mechanical floating spear, which is kind of similar to the ghosts in Destiny, but the difference being that this one has really horrible voice acting. If you're
Yeah, and the that ball thing has this amazing name called Intelligent Ball.
I know, I mean, Kim obviously has the advantage of that she can play the original Chinese language track. I can't, because I don't speak Chinese. I can barely speak English, as this podcast frequently proves. But yeah, so first of all, I just have to say that the actual dubbing for this game, it isn't good in places. I would say that off the bat. It makes Resident Evil's dubbing look pretty good in comparison. And we all know the amount of fun we've had with that over the years. But yeah, basically it follows the usual Metroidvania formula. You have a huge map, and over the course of the game you get new abilities and new sort of weapons and strengths to enable you to access these unaccessible sections that you encountered previously. So, as to be expected, there's a lot of back and forth in this game, and I think depending on how you view Metroidvania games is going to really say how much enjoyment you're going to get out of this game, because while it is certainly different than a lot of the other Metroidvania games we've played already, such as like Song of the Deep, Melee, I mean, this one is obviously something a bit different because it's not only a bit of a hack and slash, you also have some shoot 'em up. So in many ways, when we look at this character, she reminds us very much similar to Devil May Cry's Dante, except obviously this time we get to essentially play her through in a 2D side-scroller. The combat itself is really fun, especially the sword play is a lot of fun to hack and slash, but the gun might be the most pathetic weapon that we've encountered. You're probably more effective using harsh language than this bloody gun does.
Yeah.
I think the amount of times when I was firing it, I got so frustrated I just kept making pew pew noises just to try and make it a little bit better. But I mean, how did you find the actual gameplay element to this, Kim? I mean, obviously this is it's pretty more action based than some of the other Metroidvania titles we've looked at.
I'm actually okay with it. I do have some gameplay issues with it. I think let's talk positive, obviously. Positive wise, they have the skill tree, which is pretty decent. There's a fair amount of items that you can pick up. So there's quite a bit of updating. You should all there's like, if you look at the gameplay, you're gonna see that I go into the screen a lot in order to just keep upping, like keep changing her equipment, keep changing her armor, changing everything, you know? So it's really nice, like the fact that one of the main things, like just like skipping from the gameplay for a little while before we jump straight into that, is you were talking about weapons, and actually you pick up quite a bit of weapons here and there, and if you switch it up, you actually see that I like the little detail that they did, that she actually, like, when you switch her weapon, she pulls it out, and it's a different weapon design every single time, even if it's a slight change, or sometimes you can see a really big change. And she puts it back in, and you see this whole animation of her during that time when you're switching up her gear or switching up this and that, and I like those little details like that. As for the action aspect, I thought it was pretty good. The only issue I had was the fact that I think that there was this evade dash sort of thing that we have to do in order for many of the beginning, especially the beginning enemies, like some of the bandits and such. They have shields and you need to switch around all the time and do that. It does get a little repetitive. I think for people who really enjoy challenging sort of action gameplay, probably this doesn't really fit your bill. This is more of a hack and slash. It's very button mashing. It's really timing and being patient with various things and strategizing how you want to fight this boss. But really, there's not really, like, you'll be able to figure it out fairly soon. You just really have to time their rhythm and time, like, when they're going to do certain things. And then that's pretty much the gameplay. It's not really as deep as, you know, like, for very, like, seasoned players. They're probably not going to have a lot of enjoyment out of this game, I find. But overall, the fact that the dash and the evade is very flawed in the sense where the controls are really, really shoddy at times. And it's really sad because it's very frustrating when that happens, especially when you're up on enemies who are coming towards you and you need to dash and they're in front of your face ready to hit you, and you lose hit points because of that. And that's really painful, especially because the nutrients, as they call it, the nutrient is their health replenishment item. It's not very easy to find.
Yeah, and I mean, certainly when we look at the battles with the enemies, I mean, the fact that the enemies can do their own combos on you, it's not just the fact that you do combos them. And if you're facing a stream of enemies, they can also stack combos, so once you get locked into an enemy attack, you can just really find yourself impossible to get out of, and it makes the dash all the more important to sort of learn how to master. And I mean, anything in this game can kill you. It's not the fact that you have, like, disposable enemies. Right from the start, any enemy you encounter, from, like, the scorpions to the little soldiers, they can all attack you and kill you pretty easily. So it is a pretty brutal game, and certainly when we get into the bosses, there's a lot of one-hit kill bosses that you will encounter, and they just can be an absolute pain in the ass to try and get past, making it all the more important to sort of look at the skills that you're adding and seeing how the best can be sort of stacked, really. But yeah, certainly as it goes on, there's some interesting skills, like you can have the ability for the clone, and like heat-seeking missiles, and you get some fun little additions there. So how it starts is thankfully not how it progresses. You do obviously get to build up, and you get a decent progression system throughout.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is for Evil Genome, it's important to remember that not all Metroidvanias start, not all Metroidvanias have big budgets, and maybe not all of them are so familiar with everything. And this one has a rocky start, but as you play more of it, I actually got really into it. And it was really an afterthought on my part to play this in the Chinese voice, because I wasn't sure my options. Like, I didn't really want to have Chinese voice and then Chinese subtitles, which would do no one any good because I can't use any of the gameplay for anybody. Except for maybe our Chinese audience, if we have one. Like, we were talking off camera about this, about the choice of not investing more into, say, proper English dubbing or just proper English dialogue. Reading it sometimes, it's kind of cringeworthy dialogue at times. Whereas if you do understand Mandarin and you're watching and you're listening to it in Mandarin, and they have some really cool, like, phrases and really cool voices, and Like it's overall a really good time. And that's such a pity because people don't get to, like, the English audience doesn't get to enjoy that.
No, and it is a shame really that obviously we do get it down because there's so many things that work with this game. I mean the fighting mechanics are really great, and certainly when we look at the graphics for this game, it is absolutely fantastic. I mean, the 2D style works extremely well with some really nice detailed 3D backgrounds to the game, be it from like sweeping deserts or worn-torn sort of warehouses. There's always something interesting to look at in the background, and it's nice that we actually get some variety, which has often been a downfall of the Metroidvania games, that you can often feel that you're just going through the same areas over and over again, with no sort of real
Especially
variety.
with the respawning enemies, yes.
I mean, the only downside, obviously, and I don't know if you encountered it, Kim, is the fact that while this isn't like the most taxing game graphically, there were sort of parts where, especially during like dialogue scenes, where the graphics seem to be struggling for some reason. I would have thought that these would have been the areas where it would have really sort of excelled, but for some reason they seem to be having some graphical issues. But hopefully it's something that'll be obviously corrected as the game goes on. But yeah, when you've got lines being delivered at a snail's pace and the actors seem bored, depending on which characters that you're dealing with, it's
there are some characters who are downright horrible. Like, I was playing this game and our stunt gamer was behind me and he was not even paying attention, and then some dude started talking. I think it was some character called Jeremy or something, and he just burst out laughing. It was so horrible. Like, some of the dialogue is ridiculous. And even the person who does the dubbing for Lachesis there's one part where she's supposed to be more emotional, and she was like, and then it was just like, it's like someone in a really monotone voice going, "Oh my God, why is this happening?" Like, I could do it, hire me, I do a better job. And I'll do it for free, just for practice, But talking about it, I actually do like Lachesis quite a bit. Her character design, like, I already talked about the weapons, but I think her character design is pretty cool. Although a little ripped off from many other characters, in the sense that there's like a bit of Lara Croft, and then she's really sexualized, and I don't know, like, I kind of like the badassness of her, but at the same time, it's really it's okay. I think if she had some other outfits that weren't so sexualized, maybe I'd be a little bit more behind it.
But it's the future, and she's a ass-kicking heroine. I mean, it seems to be the standard thing that she has to wear the most skin-tight and revealing thing possible when you go into deal with bad guys in the outline. I mean, that's obviously the Aeon Flux reference right there. I mean, her whole character, she is pretty much the same as Aeon. I think the only difference obviously being that she doesn't just die at the end of the adventure. So, but yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed this one. It's just obviously got its flaws, which there's no easy way to connect it other than to redub the game yourself, really.
I'll sit down and do the whole redubbing and do all my crappy voices, and I'll still sound better than Mr. Jeremy over there as one of the characters. Guaranteed. And if you want proof of how bad my male voice is, go ahead and I'm gonna tag it, or probably put some sort of a note somewhere about the video we did as a trial run for what was that? Mass Effect 3?
Yeah, for Mass Effect Andromeda, you can actually hear mine and Kim's demo tapes, and now realise why we don't have careers in voice acting. So,
but hey, at least you'll get a good laugh out of it, So, anyways, I don't really have anything more to say about Evil Genome. As like your first impression, what grade would you give it? Like, what score would you give it so far?
At the moment, I'm going to give it 3.5, and that is purely because there's so many things I like about that game, but that voice acting is so atrocious that it makes it very difficult to rate it higher. I mean, certainly there's a very good game here, especially in terms of Metroidvania sort of style games. It's certainly well up there as being one of the better ones, and especially when you look at the skill tree that is provided with this game, it's very rewarding to use and very interesting to sort of play through. But it's just so hard to get into the game when you're obviously encountering issues with dialogue and dubbing, and yeah, it's a game that as a grounding is certainly something there, but it's just got too many issues to really sort of rate it higher. But I would say it's certainly a strong 3.5.
I'm definitely at the same place. As with a few previous reviews, we've been kind of at the same spot. Yeah, Evil Genome is a 3.5 for sure. A solid 3.5, actually. Yeah. There's some really cool designs, especially the skills. I was really impressed with the amount that, like, the development of it. And I've only gone through maybe, like, 3 in on each side of the development of the skill that we can go. And there's a lot of things that are really cool. It's a little buggy. I do hope that the devs go back and kind of like fix up those little things like the dashes, make it a little more responsive, work a little on that. This is their first game, so I feel like there is, there's potential for their next game to be better as they learn more from these mistakes and learn more about building a better game, and hopefully maybe with a little bit more funding they'll be able to get proper dubbing, or maybe recreate it. I don't know what they're gonna do, but I do suggest that if you do try to play this game, there is the option to listen to it in Chinese, but read subtitles in English. I am doing that right now, and I'm actually getting a lot more enjoyment out of that. So you don't really need to understand the Chinese, but the voices in general sound more pleasant. So that's my suggestion for anybody, just to kind of like be a stepping stone to get in. Unless you really want to laugh at crappy dubbing, then go for it. Go and listen to it. It's up to you. So this wraps up this episode. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. Head over to our home base, thatmomentin.com, to read gaming reviews. To get gaming news, follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook at GameWork Podcast. You can check out our gaming obsessions on Instagram, instagram.com/GameWork Podcast. And you can also find us on the Twitch channel every once in a while, where we stream at GameWork Podcast. Till next time, bye!